Crying? Ugh, that's so Vert.
Yeah. What do you do when you get mad? Throw your building blocks about?
What's she done this time? Something she shouldn't?
Yeah, breathing. You think I'm kidding? All my life it's been the same. I'd get roller skates, she'd get a bike. I'd win a medal, she'd win a trophy.
I know exactly how you feel. Me and Jay.
Bed, you have no idea how I feel. Besides which, Jay gets what he deserves. Ebony's a vulture.
Yeah, whatever.
Sooner or later, she's gonna get what's coming to her.
Welcome to Series 4, Episode 19 of Conversation on Eagle Mountain, a podcast about the tribe. I'm your host, Lance, and joining the podcast panel today is Liz.
Hello.
And Sabine.
Hi.
With episode notes done by Matt and myself. So Series 4, Episode 19. The screenplay was done by Joe Boyle. It was directed by Colin McCall. And the episode synopsis were read out by Sabine.
Jay is furious at Ram's actions, which pulls him closer to Ebony. Ram takes his revenge on Siva, while Mouse makes a new friend. Meanwhile, a familiar face returns to them all.
Can I just say hi? I cheered when Trudy appeared on screen.
At least it's not just me.
I was like, finally!
Sanity!
Yeah!
It felt like a clear signal that even the showrunners knew that this is floundering. Let's bring in one of the heavy hitters. Let's go, bring them back.
I was gonna say, yeah, the big guns, like bring them back. Yeah. Oh, because it definitely was needed. It was needed. When Pryor was all like, "I'm the leader and I'm supposed to be leading," I was like, "Shut up! Where are the true leaders? Get them back, please, because this is ridiculous."
They just keep outdoing themselves with giving him dumb things to say. Like, think you heard the dumbest? Here's another one.
There would have been one less if I had any sense last night.
Why's that?
Jay hurt himself trying to save me from electrocution last night. Well, hurt's not the right word.
Go on.
Well, you can guess the rest. Some leader me, huh? Supposed to be burying them? What do? I bring them back to life.
After their near electrocution, Pride revives Jay, who lets him go in return. Later though, Pride is despondent after his failure to stop the switch on, realizing that it will be hard to go back from this, and regretting his decision to help Jay. Celine, however, tells Pride that he did it because he's a good person, one that she's beginning to care a great deal for, and they kiss. So yeah, what do you make of the aftermath of the switch on and Pride's reflections?
I like the idea of the scene.
For once, I'm actually happy he saved Jay, because out of the two of them, strangely enough, I wanted Jay to die the least. It's like, just the whole point of the scene, and at least, I guess, we should be grateful at this point that they even remember that Pride is usually not the kind of person to willingly let others die. So, I guess they remember that part?
As I said, I like the idea of the scene, and I think this could have been much more poignant and meaningful if the conflict between Pride and Jay, mostly Pride's part, had been written better. But this is a nice trope, and I think it's actually utilized well here. You have, your two enemies have a moment where they see one another's humanity, and there's that question of like we're not evil, either one of us, we just don't agree, and showing mercy to the other. I like that trope, and I think it's utilized here well. I mean, the only reason Jay was there in the first place was to save Pride's life, because he knew that the fence was going to go on, and he was trying to get him off the fence, and that's how he got electrocuted. And then Pride basically pays the favor back. Jay would never be here on the ground needing to be revived if it hadn't been for Pride's actions,
Hmm.
and his instinct is to revive him. Um, I think that can be very beautiful in what it's trying to show you about each person, who they are at their core. But in a way, it doesn't work as well just because, again, Pride's part of this conflict hasn't been written well. And so it's like, yeah, you just sort of wished he'd fried on the fence. You're like, ah, you're still alive, right? But
He's still alive.
and I even like the aftermath of him grappling with, maybe I shouldn't have saved him. I think that's a very human feeling. Again, that's another thing you see in storytelling, not taking out your enemy when you had the chance. Instead, maybe you showed mercy or gave him a chance to live. And because again, that's who you are at your core. And yet you're not 100% happy with that about yourself, because there's still a conflict that has to be fought. And you're thinking, if I just had the guts to take them out, we wouldn't still be fighting here. And so I did actually like that. It felt like one of the rare, honest moments coming from Pride. And yeah, I guess that's it. Everything else, I don't. I mean, Celine's whole. It's fine that Celine thinks he's a good person. Of course she does. I don't care
Mm.
that she thinks he's a good person and that means he's worth getting in her knickers. Like, I don't care, but it at least makes sense for her to feel that way. So,
Yeah, but Celine's comparing things he does to things he did. So, coming from her, sure.
Yeah, okay, yeah. To be fair, I do like that they gave Pride that little bit of conflict, a little bit of development to say, oh yeah, okay, I've helped the enemy. Like this could have been a turning point, and I could have off Jay, but I like that like they remembered a bit of who Pride was and give a bit of insight. But I think that part is fine. But I think what annoys me was the whole reviving scene.
Oh,
Um, I feel like at one point the show would actually teach you things. You know what I mean? Like it felt educational, wrapped up in the world building it was doing. But like this was just Pride just had his hands on Jay's chest, and suddenly Jay woke up. It's like,
what, you didn't see him breathe the breath of life into him again?
at least some minor. Like the show would just at least do some minor things like check for a pulse, see if he's breathing. Like you don't have to show the whole chest compression thing, but. Come on, give us something. Like, the show used to give us something. You know what I mean? Like it just felt weak.
yeah.
Hey, you guys, maybe he was just transferring his aura. We don't know, man.
Oh,
We
see?
don't know. Like, everything is magic these days. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, that is
Yeah.
just a small detail that could have been included and that earlier seasons would have. Small
Yeah,
things that
just small
really brought
thing.
the realism into the world. And yeah, he just touches his chest, and I guess vibration comes out of his fingers, and he's able to shock him back.
Yeah, it's because of all the electricity.
It's because
He's electrically loaded. He's charged, supercharged.
some validity to that, man. I love it. It's so crazy coming back to this rewatch because I obviously didn't like season 4 for so many years, and it took a lot it took me a long time to be able to get through the whole thing, that I just never went back to revisit it once I'd finally gotten through it. I was like, nope, I don't need to. I saw enough. And when you don't go
Mm.
back, your opinions, they formulate. You may know the details of things that happen, but you haven't felt it in a long time. And so
Hmm.
because the end of the season and season 5 had colored my opinion of Jay so badly, I forgot that I had liked Jay at one point, how much I'd liked him, and I'd forgotten how much I apparently hated Pride. Like, I completely forgot that I hated Pride, and how much I hated him. And so getting to revisit this and feeling just like Sabine, like I wanted Jay to live, and I was like, "Oh, Pride's still alive." Like, like wow, I didn't realize it's been so
Hmm.
long.
Our memories are such strange things.
It's like, oh man, I knew that Pride went downhill in season 3, And I just ignored him in most of season 4 and 5 because he was such a disappointment. I never gave it much more thought than that. But revisiting it and being like, "Oh my gosh, like he just this is shoots and ladders straight to hell for his character, you know?" And then I do like the reminder that there was a reason I did like Jay and I liked he and Ebony, and that's why my hate for him came so strong because the flip they did with him was just too much. I was like, "What the heck?" You know?
After a detour of being tended to by Ebony, Jay finally confronts Ram.
If we'd had a minute's delay, it could have been prevented.
Delay? With the people counting down to their moment of expectation? You think I should have aborted the switch on? How did some vert get up on that fence in the first place?
You saw it then,
Of course I saw it.
and you still pulled the switch.
I didn't tell him to climb the fence. That was his choice. You're not hurt, are you?
Not so's you'd notice.
Later, Jay opens up to Ebony about his reasons for working with Ram, using Ram's technology to improve society in exchange for his help, despite Ram's own priorities. So yeah, what do you make of the scene between Jay and Ebony, and do you think Jay is right to overlook everything else for the greater good?
Oof.
Another scene that's good on the surface, but then you start asking yourself questions. Now, on the surface, I think this is good storytelling in the sense of a character who has been able to ignore all of the obvious red flags of the person they're working under in order to achieve a greater goal. And then, seeing just how terrible this person is, what the sort of things they're willing to do. And that forces you to question yourself and whether what your ultimate goal is it worth what this person is willing to do? Um, and then, of course, you have to sit there and convince yourself because otherwise your goal and everything you've done to attain it has been for nothing, you know? And we saw Luke go through it. Of course, it was done better with Luke. So that's really that's the problem. It's like we have seen this trope done before better. And then as soon as you start asking yourself questions about this, you're like, okay, once again, I need to know how long have you been working for Ram? Has Ram ever come through on any of his promises to deliver to you the things you're trying to get? This can't be the first time you've seen Ram doing stuff like this. So you're surprised. You're starting to wonder, like, how are you only just now seeing this, Jay? And this surprised and shocked and disgusted at him, and for having to convince yourself that you're still on the right path and that it's worth it. Like, what is the history here? And
Yeah.
it's just done better. It was done better with Luke.
Yeah.
Bring back our favorite emo.
It is odd because it's like we've been dropped at the beginning of Jay's story of Ram, but like we know they've been together for a while, like because of all the hints that they've been dropped since the season started. So it's like it's like the show can't decide what point of the timeline we're at. It's like, how can Jay not know these things? He's been working for Ram for a long time. They've been organizing these programs for a long time. Like, something's not working here.
What's not working for me is the stupid line, I'm not a techno, I work for technos. Like, Jay, how are you not a techno? Like, maybe you don't want to admit that you are one, but come on. It's
And yeah,
obvious.
I just want to know, how long have you been working for the Technos? That's all I want to know, Jay. Like, it's like they took that storyline from, Jaffa and Luke, where this was the first time they've encountered these sort of trials in their relationship. Problem is, with the Chosen, it was very clearly their first takeover. Okay, so there hadn't been an opportunity for Luke to see the reality of following Jaffa down this path and watching him go mad, with the power of it all. With the Technos, though, they have inferred a long history. So making this thing, like, as you said, it's like, where in this timeline of this relationship are we actually at? You're contradicting yourself. I mean,
Yeah.
if Ram, if it's only now that Ram is crossing a line, you haven't given us a reason as to why it's this city. There's been, like, again, with Jaffa, at least
Yeah.
we understood what was happening, why we got to watch it as the audience. We got to see him go from calm, cool, and why people would follow him, and we at least could relate to it and understand how he got where he was. And then we get to see his descent into the madness and, getting too big for his britches and all that stuff and becoming obsessed with the control and on and on. We get to see it happen. With Ram, there has been nothing to show that if in the past he actually was a reasonable leader and Jay felt, yeah, this is the guy who's going to fulfill his promises to me, what has changed? What has made Ram suddenly not be that guy anymore?
It's just quite absurd that it's come to this point, because they kept telling us that this wasn't the first city they did this at.
Mm-hmm.
Like even Fed and Jay mentioned that. Like, why do we have to do this every time? And come on, guys, we're just gonna do it like last time. So obviously they did this before. It's been a long time coming. Why this city? I don't know. Maybe, you know, Java whispered in his ear, "Go take that city. That might be fun." Then again, he didn't want to cross paths with Ebony ever again. But yeah, it's just so strange that they try to keep Jay so oblivious to everything. It's like, how can Jay not have seen that Ram wasn't going to grant him what he wanted? That bigger plan of his was never going to happen because it wasn't in Ram's best interest.
Yeah, it comes down to I don't think the technos were ever fully fleshed out before they were brought to screen. And so there wasn't a lot of consideration put into the dialogue and what was said about them and what they said about themselves and how that was going to affect your story going forward. It was you're supposed to be distracted by the
Mm.
flash and the bangs and the group and just not think about it, but as the story goes on, they get more and more convoluted. Their lore doesn't make any sense, and I don't think they ever really were fully thought out. I mean, the Chosen may have gone out in a fizzle, but they had been thought out in their, when they were conceived, who they were, what they were, their goals, and how they operate, how they came to be, how long they've been doing this, on and on. Someone had a full picture of them, and maybe never, it wasn't always well executed. Their lore makes sense, for the most part, but the technos, no, I don't think so. It's almost like they were like a last minute addition and everything was just thrown at the wall and there wasn't a chance to really go through it. And so I have a concrete answer of who the technos were. Like, what do you call it? Like a script Bible or something that a TV show should
Mm.
have. I mean, they clearly didn't have one about even the show itself or the original cast, so why would they have one about their new enemy?
I wonder though if the whole, you know, cast exodus hadn't happened at the end of season 3, um, like I'm wondering, did they plan to introduce the technos slightly later than this? Was there supposed to be more story in between? We'll never know, but
Were they meant to take a bigger back seat?
yeah.
you know, and
Right,
instead
yeah.
that
Mm.
pushed to the forefront, and that means a lot more dialogue and scenes had to be added with them and wasn't all thought about ahead of time.
Because, had the rest of the cast that left still been there, it could have been a way more interesting thing to have them come like this, and we could have slowly seen what happened. But with the lack of, well, people like Alice, for instance, it's so much more chaotic. There's just less to be fleshed out. They don't have enough characters in the original cast left to have the focus on them, so they have to have the focus on the technos.
Yes, season 4 would have been vastly different if the main cast was still here.
It's almost like so much of the technos had to be developed on the fly, maybe even almost episode to episode. I was one of my favorite Jane Austen adaptations is Sense and Sensibility from I think
Mm-hmm.
1996 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they were obviously trying to stay true to her writing and her book and stuff. And but what can happen when you're filming an adaptation or whatever, they realized they needed a scene between two characters is not in the book, but they needed it for the story they were telling in the movie. And they were constantly running back and forth between like the directors and screenwriters and Jane Austen's book because they were like, okay, we need a scene between these two, but we got to make sure the dialogue actually matches something that Jane Austen would have written. And they're just running back and forth on the set, trying to give dialogue just on the fly and hope it works, hope it all fits in with what they've already written. And of course, Jane's original work that was already written. And I wonder if that happened a lot with the technos, with so many changes having to be made, that there may have, and of course, again, in that movie, it was just one scene where this happened and it fit in, slotted perfectly. It wasn't a big deal. You only had to make up one scene that Jane herself hadn't written. Wasn't that hard to stay true and keep the whole
Mhm.
story coherent. But if you have to basically rewrite everything, you're on the fly constantly trying to come up with stuff to give the technos the scene. Like you got to give them more scenes because again, they have to take up a bigger part of the show now, and you got to give them more dialogue. And I can imagine a situation like that, how easy it is to start contradicting yourself because you're giving them dialogue on the fly that sounds good without thinking of the bigger picture and the whole story you're actually you're trying to tell. And yeah, who knows?
It's just so ridiculous how he's acting like he's hired help when he's the general of the Techno's army. Like,
Yeah.
how's
Nice defense mechanism there, Jay.
you're the general of the Techno forces. You're not some hired like lackey. Come on.
Does he not realize that doesn't sound any better calling yourself basically you're a mercenary?
Right. Mhm.
But it's like, at least Luke had the balls to admit that he knew they were doing crappy things. And he was fully aware of that. Yeah, he knew he had responsibilities in this. He didn't go, oh yeah, no, I'm just here to get my little thing done.
Mm.
But everything else, that's just, it's on them. I'm not part of them. It's like,
It's like they wanted the Luke story again, but the Luke story took a lot of effort, a lot of work
mm-hmm.
to
Yeah.
redeem him, the guilt he felt, on and on. And it's like someone just wanted the notes of Luke's story, but they didn't want to actually put all that effort into showing that Luke was a decent person underneath it all and him in conflict over it all, or any of the how do you get everyone to accept him after all this. So instead they were like, we'll give him the Luke story, but hey, he's super not responsible for any of this, guys. The narrative is just going to tell you, and he's never going to take responsibility for any of it because we have other plans. Like, we want you to like him, but we don't want to work for it. So they're just trying to straddle the fence with his character. So we get a watered down version of it where it was done better before.
Oh yeah, and yeah, just to finish that off, did you like that Ebony kind of herded him away from his impending doom with Ram?
Of course, you know I do.
I did like that. I think she was quite smart to pick up on the signs straight away, like realizing what was happening, where he was going, and like, okay, we need to look after you first, and then we'll like you can see what's going on when you have a fresh rest and a fresh mind.
Mm-hmm.
That was cool.
I do like it for her. Like, her side of the love story is incredibly believable,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I do like seeing, again, Ebony being able to be in developing a relationship with someone that is reciprocal. And so we get to see her in a way we haven't in the past. She's going to have to fight for this love, but for very different reasons than she's had to fight for love in the past. Usually she's fighting for love, but the other person doesn't even want to give her. They do not feel what she's feeling. And so I did like getting to see her in a space where you get to see what Ebony would do for someone she's developing feelings for, where it's clear he's starting to feel the same, you know, and how, like you said, she recognized right away this was going to go downhill very quickly and maneuvered herself into it to get him out of the situation, both to protect him from Ram, protect him from himself. And it all stems from her liking him and wanting to be closer to him and developing feelings for him. And I don't think we've ever got to see her in that position before. I mean, these are things she would have done for Bray, but they were always awkward because Bray did not feel that way about her. And usually she, you know, it was only when she was rescuing him from something and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, I just, it's nice to get to see her in this situation with somebody.
I was just thinking that we need to make a tally of how many times Jay takes his shirts off. He's rivaling Lex pretty quickly.
They knew they had eye candy.
Well, that's what he is, isn't he?
True.
That's what he's there for.
I'm not. It worked. It worked. I'm just saying it worked. I was one of the fools who was like, I know he's not legal, but just a few more years. I'm not,
See,
I'm not proud of it, but
hey, at least I had the luxury of being around the same age as them.
exactly. It was okay for you to ogle him. I'm sitting there 20 years old going, I'm sure this is illegal.
It's weird because even back then I was like, you know what? The amount of skimpy outfits the girls wear, I don't even mind this.
Yeah. But it makes me wonder though. He says that Ram owes him for all he does for him. And I'm just sitting here thinking, okay, so what do you do for Ram? Take your shirt off? Is that all you do for Ram?
Did you bring the long wire with all the little bulbs on?
No.
Dozy. Go and fetch it. It'll look good. Well, go on.
Okay. But don't call me Dozy.
Dozy.
Mouse introduces her new friend called Sammy, who we found out she met during the switch on, and the pair have fun exploring the mall's electrical items now that the power has been returned. However, they inadvertently cause a fire when they overload the sockets. So yeah, panel, what do you make of Sammy's introduction, his dynamic with Mouse, and how the show kind of barely touches on the side effects of restoring power?
Who left Jack's room such a mess? I mean, I get these two kids are meant to find all of this electrical equipment, but like, did nobody clean up after the technos overhauled the whole mall in order to find that computer Ellie had been working on? And yeah, I mean, I get two kids having fun with just the simple clicking of a light switch.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is something these kids haven't really been able to do ever. I mean, they were so young when the virus first hit, and now they have a chance to plug everything in. Of course they're gonna mess up, because nobody ever taught them not to.
Mm-hmm.
Like, sure, the teenagers, like Celine's age, remembering that. Sure, but logically, kids Mouse's age aren't going to remember that.
Now, Sammy doesn't bother me as much in this season as he will next season.
Yeah.
He'll never be a favorite character, though. I'll just make that clear.
Yeah.
I just think his introduction is one of the laziest I've probably ever seen on the show.
He's just suddenly
Lazy is being polite.
there. Yeah, it's like he's just there. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, new
that's
Sammy,
generous.
new Charlie, new Charlie.
Yeah.
But I don't know. From this whole scene, I think the kids weren't what they were causing didn't annoy me as much.
I don't mind, like you, Sabine. I don't mind them showing that this is what would happen, especially with very young kids who were even much younger when the world went to crap. And this would be exciting, and they wouldn't have the forethought that it could be dangerous doing this. But it bothers me that this is basically the only side effect we get to the power coming back on, as if this is the worst thing that could happen. Like, oh my gosh, they might, blow some circuits. Like, no, the city would be on fire, guys. You wouldn't require a couple young, curious, mischievous children to, set off some sparks and, destroy an appliance. No, what would actually happen is that the place would be on fire. Circuits would be blown all over the city. Things would catch on fire. And you just downplay it by making it this cutesy scene with these kids. Like, oh my goodness. And I feel like you could have done so much more with the electricity being turned back on. And this is all we got to. This is it.
Yeah, we got this and some small comment Pride makes to Celine about fires or possible fires in the city. That's all of it. The fire itself, though, annoys me so very, 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 very much. Because it's once again a case of Pride who is supposed to know about wilderness stuff and how you put out a fire. And he's just standing there trying to get more oxygen into the fire so it burns faster. Like, at least Celine has the common sense to say, oh, there's sandbags out there. Put sand on it because it's an electrical fire. You don't put water on that. But why does Pride not have this common sense anymore?
No,
It's
no,
like
maybe he never had it to begin with.
it's like you take the man out, the tree hugger out of the woods, and suddenly he has no clue anymore.
Remember, pride never existed into the world.
No.
He's like Tyson, he just breathed into being. He had no history.
He came to the city to ask someone to give him a brain. Is that it? That's what he needs from Ram.
But Sammy's introduction also makes you question, well, then why did Charlie have to leave? What did happen with that young actor? Because it's clear you wanted Mouse to have a companion. That's why she was introduced with her brother. You wanted her to someone to get into mischief with. But for whatever reason, Charlie had to go, and you just brought Sammy in to replace her companion. That's all he is. He's just a replacement. But it was done better with Casey and Paul, you know? Because again, that lazy throwaway line. I met him on the switch. Met him at the switch on. Like when? How? Last time I checked, Celine was watching you carefully, holding you in her arms because it's nighttime and she doesn't want to lose you in the crowd. She doesn't want anything to happen to you. At what point did she just set you down and lose sight of you while you went and found a friend? Like, what? And how did you convince him to come back with you? Who does Sammy belong to? What's his history?
So lazy.
Like KC had a story, and he didn't come in immediately after Paul was there. Also, Patsy didn't even accept KC at first.
Nope.
So he always felt like a character in his own right who stumbled into their world, even though in a way he was replacing the hole that Paul left, the part he was meant to play in the story. But it wasn't so obvious and in your face. With Sammy, he might as well just have substitute printed on his forehead.
Charlie 2.0.
Seriously. No, honestly.
But that's what this season is all about. We
Oh,
take
yeah.
care of characters we had. They can't be here anymore for whatever reason, so we get a replacement. And there might be one replacement I might accept at some point, but that's about it.
Yeah, a question I had to you guys about Sammy, because when I originally watched the show and he came on, I was thinking like kind of how odd it was that he's played a lot younger than he really is. Obviously now looking back at it now, do you think that could have been a stylistic choice because of like growth and development, or no? I'm trying to make a spin to it. Like, what do you think?
I think it was just to make him and Mouse hanging out more believable.
Yeah. I mean, granted, if someone actually put thought into it, you could have a good argument that he has like arrested development, due to this world and stuff. But I agree with Sabine. I think it's just so that it's more plausible that he and Mouse would be besties and are on the same page, because she's smarter than everybody at the end of the day, and she's definitely got a higher IQ than him, so they dumb him down. Sorry, Sammy.
No, that's absolutely fair.
Don't worry, Sammy. Someday someone will defend you. Maybe.
And it's such a shame what Sammy was given to work with, because we're going to get a scene later that proves this actor could do it. He had the chops, but once again, he's just wasted on crap material. And he gives it his all. I'll give him that. He really does lean into this role and leans even harder in season 5. But it is a shame when you actually get a chance to see him act and you're like, why do you keep wasting these child actors?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, let's return to the technos.
Now, I've got a brand new piece of cyber software that I'm ready to road test. Siva, you wouldn't like to help me, would you?
Now?
Yes, now.
I finished. I can help.
Thank you, Java. You know how much I love your company. It's been so long since Siva and I have spent some quality time together.
So Ram chooses Siva to test out a new program, but instead locks her in a simulation and mentally tortures her for stealing the antibiotics and lying to him about it. Afterwards, he blames her for making him do it, saying his day is now spoiled and she'll need to make it up to him. How did you react to Ram's abuse of Siva?
I guess this is where I draw my mental line of what I'm willing to accept as plausible technology-wise. Locking someone into virtual reality, really?
Yeah. I mean, I almost want to defend it. And I know that sounds crazy. Me defending the technology. Like, I'm trying to make sense of it. The idea that I almost feel like what they're trying to do is that you lock someone in their own mind, like that they can't tell the difference between reality and what they're experiencing, so that it never occurs to her you could just take the mask off, Siva.
No, she
It's
tries.
just
She can't.
it's like it's a half helmet. Is it drilled to her head? How come she can't take it off? You know what I mean? I feel like in some way it's trying to convey being locked in your own mind, where you can't where you're unable to tell yourself this isn't real. This is a dream, which is terrifying. We've all had an experience like that. For example, people have night terrors, or what is it, like sleep paralysis.
Hmm.
You can't tell the
Mhm.
difference between what's real and unreal, and your mind messes with you. That's scary. That's scary, and that's a really great psychological terror to do to somebody. But again, it starts making their technology magical, because when you show that all it is you're putting a mask on and you're seeing things, which they're all fully aware of, you get that divergent problem. You can't tell people they're going into a simulation, so they have full knowledge that it's not going to be real. And then once they're in the simulation, they forget. It's a simulation. None of it's real. They literally
Right.
told you it wasn't real,
Mhm.
And so I miss the connect where Siva is supposed to be so locked in that she forgets. I'm in a chair and I have a helmet. None of this is real. I can take it off. And then to show her visibly struggling to do so. Why is she struggling to take it off?
Thank you. I was just about to call you on that, because I would have absolutely bought your idea of being trapped in the mind if they hadn't shown her trying to visibly take the helmet off.
Right.
Yes.
Because that action insinuates she knows it's not real. She just needs to get the mask off, but she can't. And you're like, what? Why then? We didn't see him strap it down to her head.
Exactly. It's not like there's a magic button that locks something on the back into place that she can't take it off. It's
If they just hadn't shown her struggling with the helmet, I would have okay, she's trapped in her mind. She thinks she's taking off the helmet, but in reality, she's not. But it's fine. But because they showed that her in reality trying to take the mask off, it's like, well, it's not working.
Once again, psychological torture that was done better by The Chosen in season 3.
Yeah, I can't argue at all with that. When they showed that torture of Bray, like it was so believable. Like they played the images and the sounds over and over at him constantly. No food, no sleep. You believed that he was being brainwashed. But this, no.
I mean, those helmets don't even go on tight anyway. You have to literally lean back to keep it on your head. If you push yourself forward, it would fall off. Like, there's no reason she should be struggling with this thing. It's like, oh, the technos are magical. But the idea behind it is fine. I like the idea behind him torturing her this way, and the idea of someone being trapped in their mind, and can't discern between reality and what's not. And the fact that Ram is the kind of guy who this is what he likes to do. And we've already seen him doing it in real life, playing mind games with everybody. Everybody's a toy. Everybody's a piece on his board. The idea is fine. It's the execution that just never seems to be very thought out.
Yeah.
Because we're too dumb.
Obviously.
And I really miss when the show didn't treat its young audience like they were stupid.
Oh God, sorry. I just had a weird connection. I was like, you know what? They were better off just if it had done like the Star Trek hologram. Because at least in that you have like an exit, an arch, which this is how you come in and out of the program. And if you haven't got that, then you can't escape the simulation. You know what I mean? So like here, it's just that would have been more believable than this. I can't with this technology. I just
Nope. I can defend so many things, but not this one.
and we're in for a whole lot more. That's the worst part.
I want to see sane people again. I just can't with this.
Yeah, that final line by Ram, that kind of creeped me out. What did you make of that?
Run, Siva, run. That's what I made of that.
I do like it. It justifies her fear of him, you know, and I'll give him that. You know, Ram has been written pretty well and paints a deeper picture of the relationship he has with these women, these young women.
Mm.
It's very unsettling, and I'm glad they haven't shied away from just showing how. I mean, from his first introduction, they've made it clear that he's he's unhinged, you know. So I'll give him that. And it does make me feel even more empathy for Siva since
Hmm.
it was made clear to us from the beginning that she didn't really choose to be here, you know.
Yeah.
But I do like that there was a consequence. I did appreciate that she wasn't able to get out of there's a consequence. She's fallen for another guy. She's willing to do what she did to save him, and this is the price she pays. I like that there was a follow through there.
Hmm.
And it's a nice image. It's a nice picture of being trapped in an abusive relationship. You know, you want to get out. When you have the chance, you may express wanting to get out of it. Yeah, your partner can't torture you with a helmet and make, you know what I mean, or anything like that, but they can psychologically tear you down, make you
Hmm.
feel trapped, scare you into trying to make an escape, you know. So I like all that. I mean, it's still been done better, but this isn't the worst that they've not it's not the worst metaphor they've given us. And I do appreciate when they are willing to explore how abusive relationships keep people trapped in bad situations, because it is very easy to victim blame people in abusive relationships and ask them why you didn't leave, you know. Unless you've been in one, you don't understand what can happen to you and
Hmm.
how someone breaks you down
Yeah.
until you are
Yeah.
psychologically trapped in the relationship. There may not be any bars on the door, but you can't even bring yourself to get away. So I do like when they remember that and it comes in sometimes in the storytelling.
After seeing Jay with Ebony and Ram seemingly choosing Siva over her, Java is caught crying by Ved.
I know exactly how you feel. Me and Jay.
Bed, you have no idea how I feel. Besides which, Jay gets what he deserves. Ebony's a vulture.
Yeah, whatever.
Sooner or later, she's gonna get what's coming to her.
And she rages at him about the injustice of it all, whilst calling him out for claiming his relationship with Jay is the same. So what did you make of Java's outburst here?
Well acted, I guess. The only thing that brings it down is that Java's story isn't consistent, you know. So if you only went with the story that it's Jay she wants, yeah, this scene makes sense. But when you
Hmm.
have to include all this storylines that make it clear that she's in love with Ram and that's who she's trying to please and be with, you're just like, why are you crying over this guy? Or are you just crying because your sister won again? I wish there was just a little bit more
Hmm.
depth. I just it seems like this that make you really wish they had delved deeper into the psychological aspects of these sisters and their issues with each other, because I do think there's validity to feeling so trapped in your hatred for somebody who you can never beat, you know. And if that was really Java's problem, that she just wants to be the winner, because we know that Ebony
Hmm.
has that issue, her issue with needing to be the best, and how this clearly was drilled into her at a young age. If you're not winning, you're worthless.
Hmm.
We've seen how that affects Ebony. So if they had gone more into that with how that also affects her sisters, Java more, where Siva has accepted defeat because who can
Hmm.
shine next to Ebony and Java their whole life? And you're just like, fine, I'll take a back seat. I'm not even going to compete. That's Siva's energy. But Java being more like Ebony, dealing with that same stress of like, if I can't win, I'm nothing. And the person you're constantly competing with is just better at it, your little sister. I think it could have had a lot more depth. There was something here, but they don't really use it.
It's a tough place to be in, though. You know, constantly feeling like your sisters are better than you. Your sister is always winning. There's nothing she can do that makes people mad at her, apparently. I mean, had Java done what, well, technically Siva did with the antibiotics, she wouldn't have gotten away with it this easily. So I do get Java's frustration in this.
Yeah, there is a through line of feeling like Java's always the one who gets rejected. She's never the sister who's chosen. Even in this relatively stable relationship with Ram, he's constantly making it clear to her that Siva's his preferred one, and I was actually, for some reason, I don't know why, I was rewatching the scene where Jay had to defuse the bomb, and she's clinging to his arm for both the comfort and the adrenaline. She's just, woof, she's in the moment. And once they've diffused it, the way he literally shakes her off. Or, what are you doing touching me? I can't even stand you touching me. Like, she is constantly being rejected by everyone and cannot work out why. Like, what is so wrong with me? There's so much they could have done with that through line and how that's affected Java.
Mm.
And again, they were clearly taught to compete with one another at a young age, and how that destroys people, because that's something people can relate to, being forced to compete with
Yep.
their own siblings for validation or sense of self or worth, and if you can't be as good as them, you're nothing.
And that sure as hell causes some mental health issues.
Right. It's just so frustrating they didn't dive into that. Like, yeah, I just wish they had.
With how much the first few seasons tried, especially season 1, tried, actually give us a message about things. It would have been so nice if they would have, basically went deeper into this. What does it mean? How do you deal with something like that? And especially, how don't you deal with something like that?
Instead, they take every opportunity to just make Java sound like a whiny brat who's complaining, she got the better dolly than me, and it's like, there's more to it than that. Her frustration, her anger, her hurt is coming from a valid place. So why don't we actually give it the attention it deserves and treat it like it's valid? But we're never really meant to feel anything for Java. She's the butt monkey.
Yeah, it's odd. I always disliked Java so much, and thinking about it now, it's so different now.
I mean, my hatred of Java always came from this source. She was the worst example of script padding I'd ever seen. They took all this potential and just threw it down the drain, and I always hated it. I was just like, she didn't need to be here. You did nothing with her, nothing that meant anything, and only in the last couple episodes of her lifespan do you try to make us care about her. And we've been teabagging her the whole time she's been here. And it made me just hate her existence, the existence of this character.
Yeah. For me, it just always felt like Java was there to make Ebony look better.
I guess they were just too focused on the J-Ved sibling rivalry to kind of give Java any space in that whole development.
I do kind of feel bad for Ved here, because when he's listening to her express these feelings, it's clear that he understands them. He has similar feelings about, he too may have come from a home where he was always compared to his older brother, and it's obvious that Ved he too is looking for validation, trying to find himself outside of being Jay's little brother. And the way he seeks it and, jumps right into approval from anybody, and so he's actually trying to offer a moment of comfort and relatability to somebody, and he gets shot down. So I actually did feel bad for him. So I'm like, you guys, but I get it. I mean, that happens. It's not like, oh, Java's just a jerk for not. That happens. When someone tries to say, I get what you're going through, and you're like, no, you don't. It's not the same. You don't know. You know what I mean? That's
it's not the same.
Yeah, it's a very real reaction, but it's like there could have been so much potential here with them connecting here.
Yeah.
And we might have had a great conversation about it, but nah, everything's surface level, so.
That brings us to our final thoughts of the episode. As the Morats put out the fire, they are surprised by the return of Trudy.
Where's Brady?
Oh, look, she's safe. But Amber isn't. She needs our help.
I'm so happy, panel. How did you react to Trudy's return?
Cheering?
She looks fabulous.
I was overjoyed to see her. Finally. This whole season I've been waiting with, okay, what's happening? When are we going to see them again? Because seriously, them finding the Gaians can't have been the last we've seen of them. But it did make me wonder, and I'm glad they instantly asked, where's Brady? But I don't know, if I were Trudy, I probably wouldn't have left my baby behind with another tribe while there's an invading tribe taking away people.
I don't know. If I were Trudy, I definitely wouldn't bring my kid back into the city.
No, but
Like, if you get to the point where you think, okay, one of us has been taken, the only place I can get help, the only people I can trust to care enough to get this person back is in the city, my family. I am not bringing Brady back into that situation.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's safer outside of the city. I mean, I get it. And you'd think she'd never want to be parted from her. But at the end of the day, you know, no matter how attached you are to your children, no matter how much trauma you've gone through being separated from them, you are going to be able to wake up and realize that there are times you can't have them with you because you're only going to put them in more danger. So you have to put their safety above your attachment issues.
Yeah, but there's so many people in that tribe. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm thrilled that she came back, but it's not like she couldn't have sent anyone else.
Oh, yeah. Again, I agree with that part. I'm just defending her choice to leave Brady in the safety of the Gaians outside of the city
Mm.
than to dare bring her back just because I can't trust anybody else with her. You know, I don't want her out of my sight. Like, because she didn't know if she could get snatched herself coming into the city.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I get it. Maybe there could have been another person that she could have sent. But at the same time, when you don't know what's going on in the city, if you're looking for the mall rats, you're taking a chance on, you got to send a recognizable face that's going to listen, who they're going to listen to, who they're going to trust. And Trudy's determination, her care for Amber, it just made sense to me. I was cool with it. I'm going to let it slide that she's the one who chose to go to her family, leave Brady behind, all that stuff. I was really happy to see her, obviously. I love me some Trudy. And like, seriously, at this point, I'd be happy to see Ned. That's how bad I feel at the mall.
Oh, that would.
Oh, you're not dead? I want to hear your story, bud. But the only thing that annoyed me about it is, once again, it's not even about Trudy. It's about Amber. And don't you guys know I love Amber? You guys know I just do not like how the story utilizes her as the most important person in the freaking universe all the time. And so that did bug me that she comes back and she's just like, I'm only here because Amber needs your help. And we know that's the only thing that would actually mobilize these guys.
Or at the very least,
like, you know that going in. Like, if Trudy was like, I need your help for me, they'd be like, oh my gosh, it's too bad that happened. Oh my goodness. But all she has to do is say, Amber's in trouble. Record scratch.
I'm suddenly imagining her coming back in there with the Technos, they've taken Brady. Ah, well, too bad. Have another kid. Good luck.
Right. They would be like, oh, that sucks for you. They took a kid of ours like a few days ago.
Yeah.
Come have a drink.
What was his name? I forgot his name.
What was his name?
Just go on the streets, pick out a new one.
But it's like, oh, they have Amber? Stop the presses! They have Amber! We all know she's the most important person ever. So I did have mixed feelings about it. I was like, oh, for Pete's sake. Of course it's Amber who needs the help. That's the only thing that's going to get us off our butts and agree something must be done.
I do wish it was the other way around.
Yeah.
Oh, would have been great. That would have been great.
Beth wasn't available just yet. So I get it, but yeah, I hate it. I agree with you guys.
I would have loved if it was Amber who came to the mall and mobilized these guys to save Trudy.
Yeah.
Oh, it would have redeemed so much. And it really would have shown that their friendship is fully reciprocal, rather than just Trudy is Amber's cheerleader, you know, because that's what she gets turned into.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, Amber deserves saving. Of course she does. But we've been here before. I mean, the kidnapping only mattered because Amber was involved in it. Poor Trudy was just collateral damage no one gave a crap about.
They would have just left her there.
They would have, because they'd already done it, you know. They would have been like, that's a sad tax write-off. Sorry, Trude, you know. But Amber was kidnapped, so
at least the baby's safe.
So yeah, that's my only downside. Was like, of course Amber needs help, so we're all gonna do something about it.
And then the focus on Pride's face as he
drops.
Like, oh.
Oh, my brain instantly went, oh, poor Celine. Here we go.
I actually did as well. I was like, uh-oh. You know what? I'm sorry, Sammy.
Celine deserved better.
Yeah.
Okay.
She did, absolutely did.
I mean, she did. She already paid her penance for behavior
Mhm.
she's had in the past. Okay, she already got taken through the ringer.
Mm.
It's done. Okay, there's no reason to
Yeah.
keep punishing her. Right? Stop. Like we all loved Ryan, but let's move on. Okay, just let's move on. She lost everything. Okay, karma caught her.
Oh,
Let's just.
you know what? You know what would have been
Aw.
great? What would have been truly great? If when they find Amber, they would have found Ryan as well. I would have just loved the look on Celine's face when she would realize that Ryan was there.
Honestly, Ryan was too good for the script. I'm
Yeah.
glad he wasn't dragged back into this nonsense. He got to leave with us still loving him. They didn't get the chance to ruin Ryan.
True.
Yeah, true. They didn't. It could have been so much worse. Oh God.
Mhm.
Ryan is off getting his happy ending that I wrote for him, okay?
Yeah, true. True.
He didn't need any of this.
For real, yeah. Mm-mm.
But finally, we have some form of Mallrats adult back with a brain.
That's so sad. I just think that this says so much about the state of the Mallrats as the characters that we followed for so many years that they're so dead. Just one familiar face. We're just like, oh my gosh, thank God you're here.
We've reached
Yeah.
a point where Trudy is the sanest person.
Oh. Like she literally just walked on set and be like, I've come to save the script.
Pretty much, yeah.
Our savior has arrived. Trudy. Oh, hail Trudy.
True Supreme Mother.
Which makes me feel bad for the remaining Mallrats because
Yeah.
it really they treat Celine like chopped liver. You
Yep.
know what I mean? They really, really do. And even the narrative is like, we know she's not as good as the others, so we'll treat you to the others every now and then. And then when we're able to bring them back full time, poor Celine just gets shunted off to the side. Oh, come on.
It just shows how much they were just treading water until this moment could happen. It's just like,
Yeah.
Yep.
They finally have a goal again. We must save Amber.
it is sad.
It's a better goal than trying to fight the Technos just because. Because we don't want power.
That's because Pride doesn't like them. It's like there was no like reason. Like they couldn't even fabricate a reason in their absence. Like, come on, guys.
No, because they didn't mind other people being gone as much.
And yeah, what happens to Celine next? I don't like, but
Nope, don't like it. But yes, awesome to see Trudy. Antonia Preble, you my queen.
so glad you're back.
You're just like weeping tears of joy.
It really was.
Yep.
You're like, I don't care what problems you're bringing. I'm so happy to see you.
Bring it on. I'm so glad.
Give us a purpose again.
Yeah, cool. That brings Series 4, Episode 19 to a close. Thank you very much to the panel, and you can show your support by clicking on that like and subscribe and following us on all the major platforms. You can also leave us a comment or get in touch if you'd like to take part in a future episode of the podcast yourself. Just search for thetribe.co.uk or Conversations on Eagle Mountain. You can also throw us a donation. Just head on over to buymeacoffee.com/thetribe.co.uk. And we'll see you next time for episode 20. Until then, bye.
Bye.
Bye.